The Black Cat Lounge is sponsored by Paranormal Oddities, the little store with the big heart, Niagara at the Western Block, one of the top-rated haunted destinations in Western New York, Dragonfly Art and Soul, metaphysical goods and classes, Mystery Control, your go-to feed for science, magic, true crime, paranormal, and much, much more. Hey, everybody. Welcome back on a Wednesday night. It's a rainy day here in Western New York. So, what better time is it to talk about haunted things, ghost stories, things that go bump in the night, and, of course, the Mount Everest of hauntings, the Hinsdale house. Now, the Hinsdale house, my involvement in the Hinsdale house, it goes back to 2011. And back in the day, let me just tell you guys something. Back in the day, the Hinsdale house was an interesting place. It really was. And I had known a little bit about it through modern lore, but I actually bought a book by Clara Dandy, because it's actually, we should call it the Dandy House, who lived there in the 70s. And it was amazing. And I had a lot of things happen to me. It was just crazy. I mean, I'll be honest with you, it was crazy to some of the things that happened to me. But anyway, let me go, and just before I bring in our guest, let me just play you two little EVPs. I have a lot of EVPs. Guess who can't find them tonight? Man brain. It happens. I'm over 60. Give me a break, okay? But anyway, I have a couple that I really want to play for you. Now, I have two that I had to edit because they're quiet. And most EVPs, like are quiet. But we were talking about getting ready at one of our investigations early on. And we were getting ready to leave. And the way we always say get ready to leave is shut it down. And I want you to listen to this, and you'll hear a hiss. And the hiss is where I've had to, amp it up for, just for the, to play. So you guys ready?
Be shut down. That's yeah. Gotta be shut down. That's yeah. Gotta be shut down.
Did you hear that? Shut it down. It's very, very quiet. I'll play it one more time for you. But when I say shut it down, you hear shut it down.
Yeah. Gotta be shut down. That's
it mimics. So that was great. But here's one of my favorite ones. Mary's room is the one if you guys had saw a Paranormal Lockdown, I don't like going in the Mary's room. I still to this day don't like it. It's not as bad as it was when I first went there, but I still get that really vibration, that goose in the solar plexus. I've never really liked it. And one of the last times I was there, I said, "Hey, do you think it's all right if we go in the Mary's room?" And you'll hear it. It's wonderful response.
Let me ask you this. Would it be okay if we stayed in Mary's room for the night? Let me ask you this. Would it be okay if we stayed in Mary's room for the night?
I will say I'm not sure exactly what it says, but I take it as no. And I'm sure it probably has its reasons. But the one thing that I always liked up there was the fact that the house was built in the 1850s. So it was during, it would have been exposed to the high, the golden age of spiritualism. So I had asked it. I said, we were doing a vigil, and I asked it, why don't you guys do it? Can you do something that like old school, knock on the walls or something? 2 knocks for yes, 1 knock for no. I want you to listen to this.
Do you understand?
Did you hear that 2 knocks?
Yeah.
One more time.
Do you understand?
Did you hear that 2 knocks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That to me is great whenever I can get something like that. That is one of those things that I really think are a lot of fun. And it means that we're getting two-way communication. Now, I want to bring out our guest. Now, I've known this guy. He's he's great because he describes himself as cantankerous. We have so much in common. We have so much in common, the two of us. He was an actual witness in the 1970s to all of the haunting and a lot of the stuff that went on at the Dandy House. He has a wealth of information. He's overlooked. This is ridiculous. And let me show you. He's written a book, and I want to plug the book for him because of the fact that I believe that you should go to the source. Now, of course, Clara Miller's book is called Echoes of a Haunting, and it's revised. She has a revised issue, so that's available. But they're here by Paul Kenyon. This is his experiences up there during that time period. So I got to say that I'm thrilled. I am totally thrilled to have this gentleman on. And what I want to go and before you guys get like too crazy and we start like going off on tangents, I want to let you know that he's a crusader. And the reason why I love this guy is because he speaks his mind and he is a crusader. And we may not agree on everything, and that's just the way it is, but we both respect each other. And I respect him because of the fact that he wants to stick to the truth. Now, as a veteran of reality TV, as a veteran of the shows that pop, they need you to pop so that it sells commercial time. And, and then this face gets portrayed by a 300-pound guy that doesn't look like me. But anyway, they stretch the truth a little bit. And that's what it's tough. And you know what I mean? I feel that this place it should be a living shrine. It is an amazing place. So guys, I want to go and I want to bring in someone, again, whom I respect, someone whom I really have to say that when I first started getting involved with the Hinsdale projects, and well, we'll talk about the squatters and botters and all the other things that go bump in the night there. He was one of the very first ones that brought us in and showed us around, and he told us his story. And his story is truly amazing. So let's bring on author, podcaster, bon vivant, extraordinaire, Paul Kenyon. Paul, now did that introduction do you justice?
Saying out there all this stuff. Cantankerous? Is that the word that I used to use?
No, you said crotchety or cranky. I'm not sure.
I said something worse than I Colette. Oh, she's in Liverpool. If everybody has.
Yep, I love Colette. She comes in to visit all the time. But yeah, we are. You and I are cantankerous. We are some white beards, and we just happen to be at that age where it's like, love us, hate us, but you're going to listen to what we say. So welcome to the show, Paul, you handsome devil.
Oh, listen to you. You know what? There's so much in the community that drives me nuts, and you know what it is.
Oh God, yeah. We're going to get into that tonight.
Everybody who knows me knows what it is. But I appreciate the plug. My second book will be out. I was editing before we talked. August 17th, 51 years after the day I met the family. And that book right there is going to be released on Kindle on April 14th of this year. 2 weeks or a week and a half, 12 days away. My birthday.
Wow.
Which was the day after the exorcism also. So it's all combined in one.
And happy 27th birthday.
Yeah. Backwards, but you're good. Exactly backwards. Hi, Peg.
Oh my God, that's too funny. Paul, tell everybody how your involvement started with the Hinsdale House. And the reason why I want to do this is I have a lot of new. You were on my show, my old Black Cat Lounge, when we were on the Para X network, and we were all pure audio. And that's like, what was that, 14 years?
It was 14 years ago.
And so I have a whole new crop of people that really want to go and hear from the horse's mouth. Not that you're a horse, but at least I said horse's mouth, not the other end. So
I curtailed my tongue, and I don't do that very often.
But tell everybody about how you became friends with the Dandy family and your early involvement going up there, because to me a lot of the background is so important.
My ex-wife worked with Clara. I
Mm-hmm.
owned a business. I had bought a business, the old soda fountain from the early 1900s, and there was a fire in the wall. I called Debbie. I told her there was a lot of ruckus in the background. I asked her what was going on. I had just received the newspaper, Haunted House in Hills of Hinsdale, and I asked her what the ruckus was, and she told me I work with the mom. What the story you're talking about? So I said, you know what? Ask if we can come up. I need a good laugh right now because I hate to tell you, but our business is over. They wanted to rewire the building. The owners of the building wouldn't do it. So I was out of business after 3 months after buying it on my birthday. So we went up to the house that night, walked around. Phil walked me around, and they were telling us the stories of car trouble and all these other things. And, I didn't believe them. I'm a skeptic, everybody. Everybody who knows me knows I'm a skeptic. But I'm a believer, 100%. In certain things in the paranormal, you can't deny it. But I after meeting them that night, I stayed at the house every night that my rock band wasn't playing. My best friend, who married Beth Dandy, my best friend and I were at that house every single night of the week. After we closed up the sub shop, we stayed till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And we witnessed some really, really weird stuff. And I witnessed I was gone for 25 years. And when I came back, I got involved with the house again. I published my book, and now I'll be publishing the second book, which has been done actually for almost 8 years. If there's anything Tim wants to know in particular, I mean, I could sit here and talk until tomorrow morning, but I'll lose my voice by then.
Well,
Which
we don't
doesn't
want,
take
we don't
long.
want to do that. We don't want to do that. But Gene had asked. Whoops, skeptics are the best. Gene had asked a little background on the house. The house, it was built around in the 1850s.
1853. The first people that lived there, their names are, one brother lived in the house, and there was another structure, Tim, that we're going to try and find a basement or something too. We've done research. Actually, a school teacher friend of mine, I hope he's going to be in the chat tonight, who lives in New Hampshire, came up with the most remarkable information through the tax rolls.
Wow.
One brother lived in the house. The other brother lived in the house, which is supposed to be nearby this house. They sold it to a family named Burton. Burton moved to Iowa, and the McMahon family took hold of the house in 1861, and they lived there, regardless of what everybody tells you. I've got the deeds to the tax rolls to the owners of that house all the way to 1963, and the McMahons pretty much owned that house that entire time.
Now, Christina had the Reeses owned the house before the family bought it from, and that would be the Dandy family, correct?
Right. And Charlie Halliday and his family lived up there before the Dandy family, and the Reeses offered the house to them. The Reeses, from what I understand, took charge of the property in it says 1969 on the paper. I talked to KG Reese, Donna Reese's son, 1963. So there you go.
Yeah, that makes all the perfect sense. So that's a little bit of background on it. Now, there has been so much contention. So I want to go back with you to the first night now you guys used to get subs. I used to love this because that would have been me back in the day, going out, getting a sub, going to a haunted location and sitting there and waiting for something to happen.
Yep.
What were some of the things that you witnessed early on while the Dandy family was still in that house?
The very first thing that Tim and I together witnessed, we were in the backyard in our car. At that time, the driveway went a lot further back into the yard than where it does now. We were sitting there, third night. We were sitting there having subs, as Tim described. I was dripping oil all over myself. Tim Crane, well, I shouldn't use his last name, but that's all right. He had his window open, and I had mine down about halfway. I could see Mike's window, And all of a sudden, we hear a voice say, not sure the words exactly, but the help was in there. You want to help me? Please help me. Not please, help me. You want to help me? Tim jumped from his passenger seat, I was driving, into my lap. Very skinny guy, extremely skinny guy. He was sitting behind the steering wheel with me. And I'm trying, get off me. What's the matter? I heard it too, and it scared me. I wanted to go over to Mike's window. Clara didn't know we were there. We were up there every night for I think 10 days before she
And
realized we
Mike
were coming.
and Mike is one of the Mike Dandy,
Mike
Clara's
was the
son.
son of the family, yeah.
Right.
And instead of going to Mike's window, I jockeyed the car around until I got up next to his window, reached out and knocked. And he came out and he actually had a Coke with us and, explained some more things. Um, the one, I'm going to give you the highlights of what I
Oh, sure.
witnessed in the beginning. In the
Sure.
beginning.
Absolutely.
I went up one night. It had just begun to snow, and I wasn't familiar with how the snow reacted up on the top of the hill there. And I didn't plan on spending the night. I got there, and there was 8 of us in the living room, friends of Mike's, and a Marine who was home on leave, friends of the family. We were all in the living room, and we had 2 cots in there, and they were spring loaded. And I sat on one facing the kitchen. And then I turned around to talk to Keith Michaels, who was laying on the couch next to me. And I turned around and I went up ever so slightly, just ever so slightly. And I turned around to see who sat down with me, and there was nobody there. Keith noticed this, and he said, "You got company." Well, after a while, I went out to into the kitchen, and I got a drink. I came back in. I had my drink. I drank some milk. I was laying on the cot. Everybody told me, "You're not leaving. There's too much snow out there. You'll never make the roads." So I just took it for granted that I was there for the night. I was laying facing all of you. I think everybody that I see right now in the chat has been to the house. I was facing the window, facing the pond. I had and Keith was on the couch. I'm sorry, Jim Sushi at that time was on the couch. He was a photographer. Keith got on the cot next to me. His head was up there. My head was back here. I'm looking at the window. It was snowing out. The moon was out. It was out. It was bright enough when the snow you can see. All of a sudden, I see movement by the window, and I'm just looking at it, laying there with my hands behind my head like this, looking out the window, and I see a woman's face, and she's looking directly in at me. And I got kind of goofy scared. And then I thought, wait a
Mhm.
minute, who the hell's going to be out in this snow? And I
Exactly.
got up and I said, "I'm going home, guys. I'm going to chance the roads. I don't want to be here any longer." That's all I said. Before I reached the kitchen, Beth came out of her bedroom, which was right next to the living room, basically attached to the living room, screaming, "There's a woman in my room. There's a woman in my room." And she was in hysterics. That was number 2 that really got to me.
Wow.
Um, the same thing happened one other time when Father Al and I returned. We had a party on Labor Day. Claire invited a bunch of us up. We expected the party to last till like 7 or 8 o'clock at the latest. That would be good enough. And we broke up by 3 o'clock. The house was insane. You could feel it. And I wanted to go out. I miss that guy.
Yeah. Father
God,
Al
I
Alpha
miss that guy.
Al Alphonse Tribble.
Alphonsus Tribold.
I wish I had been able to have the honor to meet him, because he, from everything that I've learned and everything that I've worked with, he was amazing.
He was more than amazing, Tim. He was just he was he was God's answer to any of these things. Um, we all left early. Father Al was there. We all left, and about 7:30, I think it was 7:30, 7:35. Father Al had called me at home, and I started a little small talk with him, and he interrupted me. He said, "Oh," and he had a very quiet speaking. Tina, sorry, can't reply because let me shut that off. My phone talking to me. I can't reply. I told it. He was talking to me, and he cut in and said, "Oh, what are you doing right now?" And I said, "Nothing, just hanging out with Debbie. Would you go back to the house with me?" And I said, Father, what's wrong? He said, Clara's called and said the whole all hell is broken loose. And I thought, well, what's going on, Father? Could you go up with me? I said, sure. I'll meet you up there. What do you want me to do? He said, I'll pick you up. And he knew where I lived because he had to follow me home on that first visit when my brand new car with 30,000 miles on it died at the hanging tree. He picked me up.
And just for a point of reference, the hanging tree is actually right down. It's kind of down the road a little bit, and there's a heavy tradition that a Native American was hung there, and some other people were hung there. So so you guys know, point of reference, you can walk there. It would take you about 10-15 minutes to walk there, so it's not that far.
Right at the beginning of McMahon Road on the left-hand side.
Exactly.
It's down in a ditch now in the creek.
Right, which yours truly climbed down the ditch so I could get a piece of what was left.
Me too.
You got to do these things. It's all part of it. It's all part of it. It's what we do. You gotta have ownership of certain exactly,
things.
and you have to preserve it, and that's what I've done with it. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry, Paul.
But we went back up that night, and the Father pulled in, and if you guys know where the yard is and everything, he turned facing the pond. Almost even with the back door. That's how far the driveway was. It was all dirt there. He pulled up there. I was in the passenger seat. I got out and I looked up at Mary and Laura's room and I waved to Clara. She waved back. Father Al did this. It wasn't Clara. Clara and Phil at that same moment came around the back. I still get chills today.
Wow.
Clara and Phil came around the back of the house that very moment. Beth and her old boyfriend, her still boyfriend, was out in the front of the house. And I said, Clara, I just waved to you. And she said, no, that's why you're here. They were seeing spirits inside when they were outside, spirits outside when they were inside. I saw the girl in Beth's room through the window. We ran in. I wasn't afraid. I didn't get scared like I do now. Today, when I'm alone and I know something's going to happen, I know it's time to leave.
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you, Paul. I don't mind so long as I have somebody with me, like another witness.
That's true.
But I have to say that it's discretion is the better part of valor. And I will stay up to a point where I feel that it's going to be overwhelming.
Yes.
And that's when and I know exactly up at the Dandy House. When things get a little overwhelming, it's time to step back. And I know that I was out there one time with my dog and when the house was still in limbo.
Uh-huh.
And I was taking some photographs outside. I needed it because we were still worried. Remember, we were all worried that they were going to go and they were going to bulldoze the place. And I wanted to go and save photos of this place. So I was out there, and all of a sudden, when that atmosphere changed, I was there with my old dog. And I remember Ebby just started, the most friendliest black lab you ever want to see. Hackles went up, started that scared growl, staring in onto the porch. I got that overwhelming feeling. I said, come on, girl, time to go. And we backed out and we got out of there. Because why? I think if like you were there or somebody else was there with me, I think I would have like kind of confronted it a little bit more.
Exactly. Yeah.
But sometimes you're better off to let it, to give it the respect, kind of just back it off and just say, okay, this is your place. You do it. But
very, very true. That's exactly what happened to me on August 17th last year. That was my 50th anniversary. I went up at 3 p.m. to spend the night alone. I had no problems. I felt great. It was wonderful. I was live talking to everybody, having a good time, and then perfume slammed me right in the face. I suspected it was somebody outside. I had the porch window open. There was nobody out there. I went into the house, checked every room, no perfume until it hit me again, right where Dan has all the clothes hung up.
Right
there by the living room.
Right.
It slammed me again, and I looked like a dog. I was sniffing every shirt while I'm live.
You're like me.
Trying to figure out where this came from.
Yeah, I would have done the same thing.
That was it. That was at 8:45. At around 11:40 or so, I got my goosey. That's what I've always called it. I got the warning. Now it's time for us to have fun with you because there is something there that hates me. So many people have witnessed me having problems in the house.
I've mentioned your name and everything is shut down.
I
mean,
I've
it
made
it
my
was amazing.
amends. I've made amends with it, Tim. I've made amends
Good.
with it. I've made my apologies, and I feel silly saying those things.
No, you
But
have to. You have to.
there's a great EVP that the Detroit Rock City Paranormal got when we came up to visit them. They requested us to come up. I went up and I became the aggressor as soon as I walked in the door. Not the aggressor, but kidding around. I
Yeah.
walked up the stairs. The EVP is on the Dandy House page. And I said, hey, 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 dum dum, as I walked into the master bedroom, and right square in my face, within a foot, something said, come here. And I went down the stairs in 2 steps, grabbed Mike, the only man in the house with 4 women. Tina was there with me, and I started crying. I got that scared,
Yep.
that confused that something could be right here.
And it gets and to be honest with you, it can get so overwhelming. I've
It
been
is
there.
overwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I've slept there.
Yeah.
It's like, first of all, Paul, as you know, you get old. I've fallen asleep in almost every haunted location I've ever investigated. I'm not going to lie to anybody. I do. I fall asleep, and it doesn't bother me. The one time I was there, a REM pod went off at 5 o'clock in the morning. I said, "Hey, that's enough. Let me sleep till 7." And it went off. And then at 7 o'clock, it rang again. I mean, so whatever's there plays with you. And that's what I think is so interesting, is because sometimes now I want to bring this up. I want to bring this up for your opinion. The multitude of people have gone through it. And my good friend Dan Kless owns a house and has done unbelievable wonders to the house, preserving it. And I think it's just like insane how much he has done for it. And people come out there. It's a research center now. So there's a lot of people that go out there. Do you feel, now here's what happens with me. I mean, I'm going to ask you, it's a 2-part question. Do you feel that the same spirits are still around that when you and I went up there or when you were there? Or do you feel that they might be around, but other people have brought their, I'll just say, debris of spirits or whatever. And I'm just going to say debris is being kind,
It's a good,
and left it behind. And people are just going crazy with some of this stuff. So what is your opinion on that?
I talk to Clara weekly. It's been almost nightly lately. And my opinion is that people are bringing in other energies. As
Agreed.
far as the energy
Agreed.
that was there at the time, I get confused, Tim, because I'm wondering if this is the thing that I've always argued with, always was aggressive toward,
Right.
or is it something new, or is this an elemental altogether?
Right.
That's where Clara stands. She thinks it's an elemental. I don't think there's any ghosts in the house, she says. I really have to think that way, she said today.
I agree. And I think I think it's unique. The reason I think that a lot of people are bringing a lot of stuff in, because first off, as a psychic medium myself, what do I always say to you, Paul? I don't believe anything a psychic medium says. I'm going to be honest with you, because I can't prove it. Now, if I got an EVP, if I got a name, wrote it down, and we got an EVP with that name and didn't show anybody, okay, we might have something there.
Yeah.
But you can't, you get, I have a hard on against untrained, unmentored mediums that, like, really, natural medium, you miss so much. You misinterpret so much. You need to work with somebody.
Oh, sure.
And that's the problem I see with a lot of people that go in there, and they leave such debris behind when they do that. Or else you get somebody, now, like, if I've had seance in there, we've done table tipping in there, but I do it in a certain way. I do it in the proper way with respect. I open, close, make sure everything is buttoned down tight. Where a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people go in there and they challenge and they provoke and they push the limit. And this is the stuff that gets crazy. And people have got to be able to go and understand that what you get up there may not be indicative of who was there spirit wise, spirit energetically wise, when you were there in the 70s and when I came in 2011.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And,
very true.
and I mean, all these people talking about, was it, what the hell's in it? Wilhelm and all these. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Wilhelm?
Well, you
There's
know
no
how many
Will.
names? You know how
Oh
many
my
names?
God, thousand names. Everybody goes, I got this name, I got that name. And it's like, well, and I, and I have to write back. Well, I have not, in Clara Dandy's work, Clara Miller's work, it's never, that name never comes up.
No,
Or in your work, never comes up.
no names ever come up.
No. And the only thing that I get on a regular basis is if I work with a Ouija board or a talking board, I get the demon Zozo that comes up, and I know that's just somebody in the house that, an energetic personality that was there when I first walked in there,
Yeah.
is playing with me. And a lot of people don't know this, but when we were first there, we had gone up there, and I remember looking down the stairs and seeing that young girl. And I described her to Clara, I described her to you, and both of you agreed that it was Laura
It
who
was
passed
Laura.
away.
It was Laura.
Yeah, passed away, a number of years after they had left the house and went to the West Coast.
We had a great investigation. The three of us that were there.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty darn.
It was pretty intense. It got pretty intensive there for a couple minutes.
Did.
Even I was like, oh, maybe we should take a break here. It was getting good. Hey, you're listening to the Black Cat Lounge. Our guest tonight is author and haunted Hinsdale house / dandy house witness Paul Kenyon. Paul Kenyon, the handsome, effervescent, iridescent, sometimes cantankerous guy that I know and I love more than anybody else.
Oh, dear God.
Hey, I want to show people what it looked like when we first went in.
Oh my God.
Oh, let me, okay, I'm just going to show the house again. This is pretty much this is when it looked like in the 70s. When
that was just before they moved in.
And look how nicely graded everything is. And the house now is been, there's a new roof on it, and they've been working on it, and they paint it. So it's back to white. Now, are you guys ready for this? This is what we walked into in 2011.
It's like the house had cancer.
Right there. And it was dilapidated. It was falling apart, and I mean, the Mishniks who owned the house had kept it up, but it's been a number of years since, they had both passed, and, the house fell into disrepair. Here's another one. I have one more I want to show everybody. This was it in 2011.
Oh my
God. That was a porch that was on the back of the house. And you'll see that window would have been in Beth's room. And, that was
the bathroom.
Oh, that's the bathroom. That's right. That would have been the back door. That's right. That would have been the back door.
I'm trying to find you a picture of the backyard. So at the same time, they took pictures of the backyard too. And
everything was overgrown, and vandals had kicked in the door. It was in pretty sad shape. So we understand. And by the way, just Jackie Chandra, who is the granddaughter of the Mishniks, and who were the last people that actually, and I'll quote unquote put air quotes on that, lived in the house. This is an article that we have in my files, and that's the Mishniks right there, and that's her grandparents. So she used to be able to go out there as a child, and she would swim in the lake, and they would have bonfires and stuff. So it's always great to see. It's always great to see Jackie in the room. But here's something, a bone of contention, and I want to bring this up to you because the place is a wonderment. I'm just going to come right out and say the place is a total wonderment when it comes to paranormal investigations, because when this place hops, it's crazy. If you get the right combination, like if you and I go up there, it's sort of like a good vibe. We go up there, we're kind of, we're two old codgers, we're laughing at our our arthritis and stumbling, and having wonderful hairlines. And it seems that the house responds to us pretty well. Other people, not so much. But it's one of those places that is a unique place. It really is a unique place. Jackie, I love you. Thank you so much. Here's Jackie. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for sharing all your stories and stuff with us up there. And I want to bring up a sore subject. Is that all right if I bring up a sore subject?
You could always bring up sore subjects. That's what I live by at the house. Sore subjects.
Sore subject. Well, and again, I have said this before, as a veteran of reality TV, uh, as someone who has done pilots, someone who has done different episodes, someone who's done commentary and have been portrayed by people that don't even look like me.
I don't. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Well.
having directors and producers come up to you and say, "I need you to say this because I need the story to pop." And the reason why they need stories to pop, of course, is to sell sponsor time. That's all it is. And the problem with that is people don't realize that it's 50-50. It's 50-50 doc and it's documentary and 50-50, reality TV, where they're just kind of blurring the lines and everything, which sucks. I'm going to just come right out and say, I want your opinion on this because I've done a couple. I've done a couple reality TV shows that involved Hinsdale.
Mhm.
I would say probably one of the more balanced ones, of course, with Nick Groff's paranormal lockdown
Mhm.
up to a point. I mean, I did in the beginning, but what do you think of all this stuff? Everybody's put this stuff out. Everybody's put schlock out. It's beyond horse manure. Some of that stuff and I'm sorry, that's just my opinion. Some of the stuff that's on the internet, a lot, I mean, it's one thing capturing an EVP or capturing a shadow or getting the audio of like the reactions of people, and that's genuine. A lot of that's genuine, But what is it about? What's your opinion on all of this? I mean, it's
You
a
want my
double-edged sword. I know I do. I want your opinion because this is something that people need to understand because we never talk about that. We always talk about the history. We talk about the haunting. What's the fallout? Now,
people
I'm just going to go on my side, one side, play the devil's advocate because all of that brings revenue in for Dan. So Dan puts so much back into the house. And that's one
Yes.
thing you know as well as I do that house would have been gone by now if Dan hadn't bought it. So that is a good thing. So it keeps the urban legend that circulates around the house alive enough for bringing people in. And that's a great source for him to keep it up.
Yes.
Let's go on the other side of the sword. What do you think about, what's the damage that's being done to it?
I'll tell you the dark side of the moon part of this house. And it's every Sam and Colby that ever comes to that house. Dan has got a very troubled property on his hands. And I'm going to say it as I say it to my live stream every Saturday. I go to the house. I've been to the house well over 5,000 times. 5,000 people. That's 3 zeros. I've been in the house, outside the house, 86%, 92% of the time. There is nothing going on. That's not to say there's not something there. I'm not always going to be able to pick it up. Tim can attest to that. There are certain things I do pick up in that house, and I know what it is. But all of these groups that I watch every YouTube video that comes out on the house now, I didn't used to. And I watch them and I correct them with a comment. They delete my comments.
Of course.
And I
They do it to
save
me
my
too.
comments. Yes. I
Yeah.
save my comments. I've got a running list of comments, probably 220 to 240, I would say. A lot of them say thank you for the correction. We watch YouTube channels. We try to get all of our information that way. And I said, if there's anything you need to know, ask me. I'll convey the message to Clara if I don't know, which there's not too many I don't know. But these guys that go in there and I watch the video and I pull this hair out. I'm not bald. I pull it out every time I'm watching a video.
True. I know the feeling.
I lose my mind with anger sometimes watching these guys. I just watched the group. Okay, I'm going to give you 3 examples quickly. And where do they do their research or do they do any research at all? The family was forced out after 16 months. Mike killed himself in the house. That pissed me off.
Yeah, I agree.
Now I got Clara watching videos. I asked her you should watch and see what's going on. so you'll know what the truth is about everything that I'm doing for you, which she already knew. But now she's mad. And she's almost 90 and she's Irish. So you better watch what you say to that woman. But I think what Dan has and what Dan has done for the house is fantastic. He's done more for that property than anybody has. I had a chance to buy the house before him, and I said I want nothing to do with it. And he's going to have people come in there, even some of the big name people, and they're going to do an investigation. And I'm sorry, people, they're not going to be honest through that entire investigation. I know the house like my own back of my own hand. I know what goes on there. I know what is and what isn't. Somebody can't tell me, well, it's going to happen this way because you're not there, or, well, this is what. If something happens, if there's 42 different incidents in that house in a 4-hour investigation, chalk them up as liars. I'm sorry, people.
Agreed. 100%
I've been there too many
agreed.
times.
You know what? Some of these people come in there and it's like, it's just overwhelming.
It's more than overwhelming. It breaks my heart.
You know how long I've been doing this?
Yes.
If you can get 3 EVPs in a night that are direct responses or an echo or whatever, you've done well. If you can get a cold breeze or whatever, something like that, you've done well. But
Hang
these
on
people
a second, Tim. Somebody's asking here, and I need to correct this right now before this gets all screwed up. Christina Mellon said, "What? Didn't know that." Mike took, and then I don't know.
Oh, I see that now. Yes.
I think she's asking that Mike died in the parking lot. Mike died in the parking lot of the hospital. It was an accident. He fell down. He didn't die in the parking lot. I'm sorry. He got injured in the parking lot and died at the hospital. But I must also say that I've got to reiterate this very clearly for Clara. She still thinks the house took Mike. Because when the doctors opened his head for this injury that happened in the parking lot, they found an injury from a previous injury that looked very old to them, that the blood clot burst. The house killed Mike.
Well, that
it got its way.
Yeah, that's I remember because he had that. He went off
the road. He had the car accident.
And they found the 2 indentations in the windshield of heads hitting it, and only one person was in there.
Yeah, there was
Mike. So that could have been a something that was previous, and that's what. And again, people don't get that. We talk about demons. We talk about all this stuff.
Hi, Billy.
Let me just. I have an audio clip here. Let's see if I can find it of Clara and about demons. So if guys give me just a second here, and we'll see if we can bring it up, and you'll hear Clara Miller's voice, and she talks about a couple different subjects. And this is going back probably well over 15 years ago that I was able to record this.
I knew that. I was going to say that had to be 14 years ago at least, because I know her voice.
Okay, first of all, forget the demons, okay? Because there was never any sense of evil, okay? I mean, I can feel evil, and this was not evil. It was disturbed, but it wasn't evil. So forget that. I think, in my own mind, that it's in kind of a vortex, that it's bringing things in, because things that we saw weren't always from the area, and this has happened to people afterwards, too. I've gotten a lot of reports. I seem to be the reporting section. And so I don't know whether this vortex or whatever gave the power for something to appear, but I never felt evil. I never actually felt threatened, except by the voices that were outside that were threatening my daughter. But I never personally felt threatened.
That is... right there, that is just so amazing. And we're hearing it from her own lips that she didn't feel that it was demonic or whatever. Yet, time and time and time again. Now, Paul, I've worked with exorcists. I know a couple people in the field. I have never felt anything evil in the house. I felt
nothing evil. I felt something mad, mean,
mischievous.
horrible.
Yeah, cranky, wanted you, what are you doing in the house? Can't you guys leave me alone for a little while? Something like that, but never anything demonic. Yet constantly, I get these people that are totally
weekly.
Oh, yeah, it's true. And I'll get them after this show. Believe me, Paul, I'll be getting all sorts of cards and letters in for this one. But I get these people that are just constantly saying it's demonic. There's a demon, this and that. Never. I have been in houses where I've been scratched. A couple weeks ago, Paul, I got knocked to the ground up at the Western Block in Lockport.
Let me throw this at you.
I never got anything. Nothing ever happened to me like that.
I never used to believe anybody who told me that. But my second book is going to show everybody, and I'll probably talk about it before the book is released. But I didn't believe that anything from beyond could hurt you in a way that was, the touch, the whiffs.
Mm-hmm.
How about getting knocked the hell out from nothing? Air. Well,
exactly.
It's in my book, and there were 4 people there that watched it. Something in the house hates me, and it showed me one particular night.
And well, that's always the way. That's what happened to me. That's why I try to keep an open mind on probably 90% of everything that goes on wherever it happens. But I mean, I've been in places where I've been scratched. I've been pushed going upstairs. And again, Western Block in Lockport, New York. Recently, I got knocked to the floor.
Yeah.
Never have I ever had anything that in the house. And again, I think it's because I walk in there. I have respect for what's going on. I have respect for these energetic personalities. Mm-hmm. And I'm not there to go improve anything. I'm not there to make my bones, man. I'm not there to worry about, I got to worry about this or that. And it's going to look cool on my YouTube channel. I don't care. I'm in there to experiment and see if I can go and get a 2-way intelligent communication. That's what I'm looking for.
Well, that's what I want to find out at the house. I want to know, Tim, Alex Tanner said to me, Alex was there with Father Al during the exorcism, and he came the year previous to do a lecture at St. Bonaventure University.
And that's Alex Tannis, by the way, just so everybody knows.
Yeah. And he, after the exorcism, he looked at me and said, Paul, Tim, being in the field you're in, I'm not an investigator. There's only one place I investigate when I do, which is rare. It's the house. I don't run around the countryside going to different places with a goddamn K2 meter or anything else. Alex said to me, Paul, the house wants answers from you. I didn't ask him then. What are you talking about? I did ask Father later on when I came back to New York in 99. Also, I want to tell you this. I was talking to Father Al. I owned a cab company, and I catered to the university. I took the kids to and from the bars, had 4 cabs in Allegheny all night long. And Father Al and I were sitting outside on a bench just talking. We weren't looking at each other, just looking at the birds and everything. Beautiful rectory up there. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about the kids and how they get sick in my cab, and he was laughing about it. And it popped out, Father, why didn't you come back the second day? And I didn't look at him. He was sitting to my left. He didn't look at me. And here's what he said, and I'm sure I can mimic his voice exactly. Because I know it didn't work. He knew the exorcism didn't take.
Wow.
He didn't come back. We had the NYU film crew with Alex Tanner spent the night. And then we did filming of a documentary the next day at the house, on the property and in the house. Father Al didn't show up, but we never knew why. He wouldn't talk about it. He was defeated, Tim. And that killed him.
I will always remember Clara said to me, and I do have it in one of the interviews I did with her. And it's not in her book. But I will always remember when I said, what was it that made you finally give up? Finally leave the house? And she looked and she said to me, and I always remember that, it's in her voice, Father Al said the house wants to kill you.
He said he
And
would do it to me too.
yeah, okay. So that's that's collaborated. So I mean, this is something that he knew at that point whatever was very, very powerful. Later on, he said in one of the interviews, and you have it on your Facebook, uh, that a lot of it the poltergeist activity revolved around probably Laura,
Uh-huh.
little girl, which I do believe. I believe,
I
but you
believe
know what's amazing to me is all the different places that I've investigated, the good cases I've done, the bad cases I've done over the years. The one thing has always been constant. When you have a troubled location, it's always there in the background. And a lot of people sometimes don't realize stuff,
yeah.
they'll just go, whatever happened. I left my keys someplace else or whatever. But when you have the right person at the right place at the right time,
yeah.
and they're all in one location, it explodes.
Yep.
And I believe that truly is what happened when the Dandy family moved into that property.
I think
And
so.
a lot of it, they're all going, "Oh, it's Native American, it's all this, that." No, it's not. It's definitely
There
not
is
Native American.
I've done more research than
Oh,
a professor. There's no Native Americans in that area. Native Americans were on every square foot of this country at one time,
exactly.
but they didn't live up on a hill where there's no water for their cattle, for their travels, for anything.
It's
And
not
this,
it's not a temporary camp, and I always remember early on Wikipedia had in there, well, it was a famous battle, Revolutionary War battle. You know what? It was a Sullivan Clinton campaign of 1790s, and it didn't go there. It
no,
went in another place. Or else, we find arrowheads. We find stone tools and arrowheads. Well, that's 3,000 to 5,000 years old. You're talking to somebody that
no,
reproduces them and understands the history behind it. They're talking about all these mounds. Well, they're ossuaries. They would have done it, but not
we
not,
have mounds in
not
all.
that area. It's hilly. Everybody
Yeah,
wants to be close to a water source. There's no water. There's no real water source up there.
no,
So
it's just it helps. It helps with the story. Uh,
exactly, and
I, I I'm
it
an
builds
expert on Clara's story. I was there. I know what happened. I was there.
exactly.
And one thing I want to make clear, even though I do say it all the time, during the exorcism, we heard the screaming. It sounded like between a cat in heat, a banshee, and a baby crying.
Right.
I don't know
Yes.
how else to explain it. But did the house shake? No, the house did not budge. I'm so sick of hearing the house shook. Clara's sick of hearing the house shook. It
And
didn't move.
this is we're talking to Paul Kenyon, who was present during the exorcism of the house. This is coming from the horse's mouth right now. This is
They never
coming
shook.
truth. This is
I
why
promise.
this is why I thought it was so important for Paul to come on and really we can address this situation that has that's just been blown out of water. You know what I mean? Just it's been blown out of proportion. And yeah, it makes it makes for great urban legends. It really does. It makes for a fantastic urban legend. But it's not the truth.
And the
And the
truth is
what
what's most important, especially
exactly.
in paranormal, because there are people like you and many others that go out there to try to find what's going on here. And then you got all
Exactly.
these hair brained people that are making, they kick a rocking chair behind them when you aren't on camera. Then they turn around and say, "Oh my God, come on, people." It's all
Exactly.
make believe, it's all. And I apologize to Tim and to the audience for my demeanor, but you know what?
No.
You're always, when it comes to this kind of stuff, you're lighting my fuse, and it's very short these days. Especially when they talk about Clara and the family, and like I said, when they talk about Mike killing himself or Mike hanging himself at the house, I just
Oh
saw
my
it this
God, yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I heard that just recently and I was just like, let me school you on this. Don't ever say that's not the truth. Don't ever say that. And they're like, well, somebody hung themselves. Well,
Nobody did.
no. Listen.
No,
It's you know what? It was a
and nobody
psychic.
ever
It was a
drowned in the
psychic.
pond.
Yeah, yeah. It was a
Nobody's
psychic
drowned in
thing.
the pond ever.
People are always somebody got hung in the barn. Somebody did this. Somebody did that. It's an impression. Is it always true? As a psychic medium, is everything always true? You don't know. I can walk into when I do walkthroughs for different TV shows or even for different teams. I can only tell you what I pick up vibratory, in a vibrational sense.
Right.
Now, can this gray matter color it in some way?
Oh,
Absolutely.
sure.
And
Alex Taylor said the same thing.
exactly. And that's
He
why
was duped.
exactly. Also, spirits lie. That's another thing. Everybody's like, "Oh, I got this." Listen. I was up at Hinsdale. I got Abraham Lincoln. Well, I don't really think so, but if you believe that, that's good for you, because spirits lie, and spirits. I remember distinctly, Paul. First time we all went up there, right? We all go up there, and Joe and I were talking all about, Clara's book and the different articles and everything that we had researched. And I'll be damned if almost everything happened when we were all you, me, and Joe
I
were
don't know
up
what
there.
that is, Tim.
It's vibratory. Because it picks it up. Whatever it is up there, it picks it up. If you direct, it's like attracts like, part of the natural laws.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you think about it, its thoughts are things become vibratory in nature. What do you think is going to happen? So it did its best to help for us to be up there. I remember looking down and seeing who we feel is Laura. I remember
you described her to a T, Tim, and there were no pictures of Laura around for you to see.
No, not at all. I remember writing to Clara and saying, on the off chance, I know that you used to see a girl inside the house, but she didn't write back for a couple of weeks, and she goes, "You gave me a start. You gave me a start because you described Laura." And I was like, "Oh my God!" And I had known Laura, had passed, and she goes, she always told me if anything ever happened to her, she always wanted to go back to the house.
And she would. Mike wouldn't, and people are still saying Mike's in the house with him. No, Mike won't go back. He hated that house.
Mike, yeah. People look for the sensational, and again, for a double-edged sword, it's fantastic because the urban legend builds, and people are constantly going out supporting that house and keeping that house alive, and allowing that house to be rebuilt, and having a place where you can go and investigate. And if you have the right mind, and if you have the right research behind you, and you go in with the right attitude and intent, you may get a little something that will help you, in your belief system, or something that will cause you to say, wow. But if you're going up there and you're going to be part of a sideshow, you want to go and you want to shock the rubes, you want to go and have your ego stroked and blow up like a balloon and say, look at all this is amazing, and run around screaming like we've seen. I've seen too many of those where people have run out of the house in terror. Well, then that's fine. If that's your gig, that's fine. But people need to, paranormal investigators, when they go into these locations, they need to be more honest.
Yeah.
And again, I got knocked down the other day. First time in my life I got totally knocked down, and I don't know why. I can't explain it. I have
you're going to sit and think about that for a long time, because when it happened to me, on the property with 4 other people watching it happen, and 9 feet leaving the ground from such force.
Yes,
that doesn't happen. I'm sorry. I mean, even today,
it knocked my sneaker off. It knocked my sneaker off. And it's like amazing when that happens. But
Tony Spirit told me it was demonic because it had that much power. I said, you're full of shit.
Now everything, well, he's you know what? Again, what people have to realize is, like, even with the Warrens, they were
never at that house. Also.
No, although she says she was, but I know that.
Well, she was a country home, is all she remembers, and she had Alzheimer's when she had the interview.
Right, but
Clara will tell you she was never there.
She was never.
I will say the same.
And Clara told me the same thing. But you know what? They were good for their time period. We're looking through 1970 eyes. When we start looking at research and what has been left behind, we're looking through 1970 eyes, which now we have totally something all brand new. The paranormal field has got a lot of different things going on. There's different belief systems. There's different ways of doing things, different methodology. We're back there. It was the Warrens, and it was just like demons and angels, and they had blinders on. They were myopic. They were great for what they did. They were fantastic for what they did. But we have to look at it with both from the 1970s, take that into account, and then look at it through modern eyes and try to go and make some kind of sense out of it.
If you go back an additional 25, 30 years and read some of Father Al's studies, his personal studies, my God, the man was 4 decades ahead of the
him.
Warrens.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
In the 50s.
This was and by the way, I just want to let everybody know the reason why I have as much research on the Hinsdale house as I do is because of this guy here who introduced me to the archivist at St. Bonaventure University, where Father Alphonse Trabolt's archives are located. And he got me in there to read and photograph so many wonderful things. And actually he brought out some of his actual relics for me to photograph and look at. And when you start going back to the original sources, you've got to go and you have to go and take it at a 1970s face value and then apply the 2000s well, I shouldn't say 2000 common sense because we've seen the YouTube videos, but you have to have some kind of modern sense about you in order to go and say, well, maybe this theory might work. The other thing is, Paul, my God, think outside the box, do different things, experiment before you go out there, make a list of things that you want to try. Because just because something is on TV doesn't mean it's going to work.
Exactly.
You know,
we're going to do something I've never seen anybody do. And I, being who I am, I don't believe in Ouija boards. Tim, I know where you are.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
We're going to do one with blindfolded.
I think it's great. I've done it blindfolded.
Oh, have you? Well, then
I've done it blindfolded. Well, yeah. Well, we did yes or no questions.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, but yeah, I mean, it was but it was only a one-time deal. If we had been doing it like, in an actual experiment where we're going to try to repeat the process, I would have really wanted to go see if we could get spellings and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So but I mean, I would love to do it. We'll do it.
Just want to try something different up there.
Hey, Paul, you know me. Let's do it. If it doesn't work, who cares?
Really. It doesn't matter.
That's the way it works. Paul, I don't want to keep you all night. It's already past 8:00, and I am just, you know what? I got to tell you,
you're old.
Well, I'm old. Listen, I'm old. You and I both talked about having bad kidneys, and we both need to go to take a nap.
You just said you're past 60.
Oh, I'll be 67 this year.
Oh, I got 5 years. Well,
you got a couple years. You got a couple months on me there, Paul. Not by much, but we're catching up with each other. Hey, you're going to be up when my friend Melanie's going to be up there. When is it, Melanie? When are you going to be up there? June?
I've got so many. I'm going to be up there. Well, Melanie's. I think is Mel. I'm going to be up there when she's there. But I think Mel also said if she can, she's going to try and make her a little shindig in June. We're going to be there 5 days, and there'll be a lot of cool things going on. We're all going to spend an hour in the house alone by ourselves.
I'm sleeping. I love that.
I'm sleeping in the closet where everybody says it's a portal. It's
don't start me on that.
It's a porta potty is what it is.
Don't start me on that one. That's like whatever. I mean, I'm not going there. We're not gonna open that can of worms because I've got a lot to say about that.
But here's the best thing that's happened to me in the past year. We were sleeping and snoring loud, two of us. My granddaughter was in the bed in the master bedroom with me. We were sleeping, sound asleep about 3:50 in the morning. All you can hear is 9 footsteps thumping up them stairs.
Yep.
We didn't hear it until going through the tape.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And that's something else people don't realize. They're going to stand there and they got the recorders. Okay, I'm going to do a burst. Oh, it's off. Burst off. You go, and I remember I left a recorder going when we were all up there. And we went to Kenyon's for coffee. And I went and I listened to that later on. And it was like about 2 hours. And I just let it run. And I remember when we were not in the house, you hear us leave the house, you hear the door shut, we all leave, we're all going down, was at that time there was no power in the house. Remember, there was cold, and
Cold.
it was cold that day, and I heard footsteps, I heard dragging, I heard
Yeah.
scratching, I heard whispers,
Mhm.
and people are not doing that anymore. People are not listening in like that anymore.
We used to just leave the recorders at the house and park at the Linderman house for hours.
Yeah, but you know why? Because now nobody wants to go through 3 hours of listening through tapes. I do because I have no life, Paul. I'll just tell you that right now.
Well,
But
me too. But
I
I've
love it.
used SoundForge, and you can see every little
You look
anything.
for every little hickey. You look for every
Yeah,
little hickey, and then you go and you listen in on it, and that's
yeah,
the way it works.
exactly.
I
I mean,
remember,
I'll sit and watch a 5 hour video and think, "Oh my God, something happened. Will you please?" And nothing happens. Doesn't bother me.
but that's the way it works.
It is.
Or you take it in bursts. You take it in segments. Do 15 minutes, 20 minutes at a time.
Well,
But
get
people,
over here, Colette.
oh, I'd love to have Colette come over. Colette's one of my favorite people that come in there. And here's Melanie. I love listening to my recordings. That's only because when I sing to you, Melanie, that's what it is. Which
I
is
haven't
strange.
seen Mel since we were remodeling the house for Bill Connolly. Don't go there.
Back in the day. And and I mean we all go back to old owners, leases,
Yeah.
squatters,
Yep.
you know. And it's and you know what, again, so many well-meaning people, but they lacked organization, they lacked whatever, they lacked
Yeah.
funds and all that. And I always remember telling Dan when he said he bought the house, I said, "You're the only one that's going to be able to go and save that house,
Yeah.
save it for future generations." Because Western New York and you know as well as I do, Western New York has a habit of destroying its mythological heritage.
Oh my God, you are absolutely certain about that.
And that was my main reason why we went up there the first time, to go and photograph it, just to save it, because we were afraid it was going to get bulldozed.
It
And
was going to get bulldozed on a
yeah,
Thursday morning, and Tina stopped it on a Tuesday night by nagging me that the house was calling her. I said, "Tomorrow's a school day. You got to hear this story. This is very important. I'll do
yeah.
it quick."
Oh no, go ahead, please.
We used to go. We watched the house for Donna Reese. We watched the house for an entire summer after Flo and Joe died, and this was then school started, and we didn't go up every night because we were going up between 8:30 in the evening and 5:30 or 4:30 in the morning. And Tina called me at 7:45, 8 o'clock, or close to 8 o'clock, saying we have to go to the house. I said, "For what? We're not going to the house tonight. Kids have school. You got to teach in the morning." She said, "Well, I need to go. There's something wrong." I said, that calling you get. But I argued with her, and I said no, and we hung up the phone. I live next door to her. She calls right back, comes over, and I said no. She said, "I'm going alone." And Tina wouldn't go to the house alone, Tim, never. So we get up there. Every window, the ductwork, every window was completely knocked out.
I
The
remember that.
ductwork was on the front porch. And I called the state police. Trooper Mark Jones came up. He's walking up the driveway saying, "What's going on tonight, Paul?" I said, "Total vandalism, Mark. Look at this place." He's shining his light from the driveway. He shines at the roof, and the chimney is gone. The chimney has been taken apart. So he walks around the entire house and says, "Paul, this is not demo, or this is not vandalism. It's pre-demo. They're going to knock this house down." I called Reese's the next morning, and KG, the son of Donna Reese, was in Florida deep sea fishing, and he was going to knock the house down that Thursday morning. That damn house saved itself.
Wow,
That's what happened.
wow, wow.
It saved itself. I'm
That's amazing.
telling you.
Because I remember when I first went up there, there was still a lot of stuff there. But then another time I went up there, windows were all blown out. Everything was stripped out of the house,
Huh?
and it had to be shortly. Do you remember when we went up there and somebody had got up in that crawl space and fell through the kitchen ceiling?
Yeah, that's how I found out who the old owner was, who's been on my show twice now.
Oh, okay.
Charlie Halliday.
So I mean, it's amazing. It's just amazing that the house is still there. But thank you,
171 years old this year.
man. Thank you, Dan Kless, for preserving an
Jeez.
important part of our mythology here in Western New York. It really is great. Tell everybody about your show.
Every Saturday night, 6 o'clock on the Dandy House page on Facebook, we talk about something. This past week, we were reading articles from Bob Curran's Corner, who used to write about the house, and he published in the Buffalo Evening News. We've had guests on, including Randy Carr, who was Clara's Ghostbuster.
Yeah.
He'd come to the house, it would all stop.
I know. That's amazing.
It's crazy how and I noticed that. I've seen it happen with him. But every Saturday night we have a show. It's supposed to be an hour. We'll go 4. I lose my voice after an hour, and there I'm choking.
Listen, I know the feeling. That's why that's why I that's why I don't want to keep you that long. But I mean, it is just, and Colette loves, I just want to put it up here. So you are really doing great, because Colette says, love your live feeds, Paul. That's great.
And you are going to come on, Colette. I'm going to jump you in there this week if you want to.
That's fantastic. Oh my God, that's fantastic.
I want to hear that English accent. I love it.
Hey, Paul, stick on the line. I want to thank you properly off air. And I got to tell you something, Paul. It's, you know what? Again, it's great. We'll butt heads. You know me. I play the devil's advocate a lot.
What it's about, Tim, but we can talk about it and never get angry.
Exactly. That's what's so great about it, And I think that's what's missing in so much of the I was going to say just paranormal, but the metaphysical community, they're even more cutthroat than I've ever seen anywhere else. Listen, I've seen bowling leagues that weren't as cutthroat as some of the metaphysical communities, but definitely. Thank you so much, Paul, for coming on, sharing all those stories. People love it, but most of all, holding people accountable.
You have to,
for the truth.
I'm sorry. I do it not because I want to be a grump about it. I love Clara to death. I've known her for 50 years, and I can't let people just walk over her story and make it their own. Not anymore.
Exactly. Because
she's 90 years old.
It's not your story. It's not my story.
No,
we're just additions to the story. This is Clara's story.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is what is so important. And I really want people to understand that. These people, she's the one, her and her family were the ones that went through it, experienced it, suffered through it.
Yeah, my God.
And then, were persecuted for it too.
Horribly.
Yeah. So this is something that I feel is very strong. And that's why I wanted to put you on the show, because I thought there is nobody out there that can do what you do, Paul. And I'll tell you that right now. And I'm in awe of you, and I am just so honored that you took the time to come on the show tonight.
I just tell what I know, what to be true, and that's what's important.
And that's what it is.
We can lie.
Stay on the line, Paul. I'll be right back. Guys, what a show. Isn't that great to have Paul Kenyon on, to hear his experiences, to hear his ethics of what the paranormal community and the responsibility of what the paranormal community should be doing out there. I love that. And this is why it's so important to get all of our voices out. It's so important for us to get down to the truth. Urban legends. Remember one thing about urban legends, and we're going to have Jeff Belanger on to talk about urban legends next month. Urban legends, they're legends. They might or might not be true. But on the other hand, think of it like this. There's always a little flicker of truth in a legend. Find that truth, and you'll find something that's far more interesting than all the blossoms that everybody has built on it. It's like an onion. The core of the onion is one of the most important things, and everything else is just shell. Listen, you've been listening to the Black Cat Lounge. I'm Tim Shaw. I'm thrilled that you guys are around. Thank you for being on the show tonight, visiting, hanging out, and more important, spending, what else? Your Wednesday night with us here where the elite meet next to the dumpster transfer station. Ciao, babies. Take care. I love you guys all. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. I don't know how I'm going to top this. Just let you know.